Duh. Subscribe to the channel. Oleg Nikolaevich was sitting in his office and checking the company reports. The man was in a high position and was a little bit of an oil magnate. It was now, when he was already under, he confidently ran a huge business, solving serious problems and difficulties. And once everything started from scratch, he traveled with geologists almost the entire country, spent many years on drilling towers, and finally, according to his own calculations, opened his own oil well. The risk was huge, but as it turned out, it was not in vain. The man got rich as if by the deception of a magic wand. While he was engaged in the oil business, which took away his strength and time, his own family was led by his faithful wife, Alice Sergeyevna. She could be put down in everything, since she was a decisive, powerful, and smart woman. Sasha's son was a late child, because half of his life was spent on achieving the welfare of the serious weight in society. The guy grew up almost without a father because he was busy with work all day long. He was taking care of everyone in the house. His son was doing well, graduated from university, and also followed in his father's footsteps. He began to help him in business. He often went on business trips, met business partners, and ran branches. But he was somehow unlucky with personal life. He loved one girl very much, but it did not work out. Mother insisted on a favorable marriage with the daughter of the judge Olga. But it turned out that she was a childless and even a walker in the country. Then Sasha decided to take a child from the shelter and gave birth to a baby. The girl was 2 years old. She seemed to be no longer a baby. The son's wife at first supported this idea, but when it came to diapers and night sleep, she realized that she didn't want children at all. The adopted daughter only annoyed her, demanding a lot of attention and care. Unborn mom got tired of it quickly, and soon she betrayed her family without any conscience and went abroad with her lover. Sasha suffered a lot, but did not leave the baby, did not give it back to the shelter. He adopted a nanny and brought up little Nadia. A year ago, the son tragically died. Sasha went to business talks with a large sum of money, and that's it. They only found a completely burnt car and a charred body. It is impossible to describe the pain of losing the only son and heir. She didn't want to live, but she couldn't be spoiled. Now she was a little Nadiushka. After her son's death, Oleg Nikolaevich and his wife started to raise her granddaughter. 5-year-old Nadyusha was a devout magnate. He adored her and loved her with all his heart. The businessman's wife also shook like a guinea pig over a fat and fluffy princess and demanded from Nanny an inclusive observation of all the rules of upbringing, especially when she hugged them tightly and whispered. The girl remembered her father, loved him very much, and often asked where he was and when he would come home. After all, Sasha often went on business trips, but the spouses did not dare to tell her the terrible truth yet, so as not to hurt the child's psyche. And they all promised that her father would return soon. From the memories of the businessman, she took out the phone and called. At the end of the wire, a wish of the nanny Nadyusha, Irina Borisovna, was. I was walking with Nadyusha. She was riding a sled with the kids from the mountain, so they were taken to the wrong place, and the baby almost fell into the river. And I, already not a turner, do not have time for her. Thank God there was a fast boy nearby. He sells old books on the embankment. From the view of the necrotic, he looks like a homeless man, so he saved her, literally pulled out a chevron. You forgive me, but do not worry, the girl is all right now. We are already at home. Changed clothes. I gave her legs just in case. The businessman jumped off the chair and yelled, I'm coming right now. Why are you like this? It's pure water and cold. What if it wasn't for this brave boy? The man rushed home, broke into the room, and hugged his granddaughter. Nadyusha, granddaughter, are you okay? Why don't you listen to your nanny? The frightened girl said, It's okay, Grandpa. Don't shout, please. I won't do it anymore. Misha saved me. The boy is alone. And also gave me a book so that I don't cry from memory. It's so beautiful and interesting. There are such fairy tales. Even the nanny doesn't know them. And the grandmother probably knows them too. The businessman asked, Here's a good boy, Misha, a brave boy. Show me what kind of book it is. The baby stretched out an old, beautiful book of fairy tales to him in a leather coat. He opened the first page, read something there, and froze. Then he changed his face. He was covered in cold sweat, and he began to ask the nanny, Irina Borisovna, how does this Misha look like and where to find him? I want to thank him. The woman replied, he is on the embankment every day. He is selling books there, old ones. He is thin. He is a bright boy. He also has a prominent cheek. You will immediately know how you will see him, dressed in a poor and unruly way. Don't scold me too much. I know it's my fault. The most important thing is not to tell Alia Sergeyevna, otherwise she will kick me out immediately. She has a cool temper. Oleg Nikolaevich smiled. Okay, we agreed I won't say anything, but we must warn Nadia. She is like a partisan. She knows how to keep secrets. And you please take care of my Yegazoi, so that this does not happen again. The businessman spent the whole night without sleep. He was spinning, thinking a lot, remembering, drinking cognac in the kitchen, and did not find a place for himself. He barely waited until the next morning and rushed to the office with everyone else. The man went straight to the embankment, turned around, looked around, but did not notice anyone similar to the boy. Then he asked the street vendors, I need a boy, Misha. He sells interesting old books here. I don't see him. Those bullies answered, Yes, there is no one today. He's already left. And so he trades almost every day. So you will get stuck again. Oh, poor boy. Such a grief. The businessman went to the embankment every day, but the boy was not there. He caught him on the fourth day. Misha was small and slender. There was a cold outside, and he was wearing a light, knitted, summer jacket and summer sneakers on a thin sole. He was always walking around and was warming his throated fingers in his pockets. The businessman came up and began to look at unique, expensive books. He asked, Hello, your name is Misha? How much do you sell books? And where do you get them from, if it's not a secret? The frightened boy, seeing such a solid uncle, nodded and quietly answered, Yes, I am Misha. Take the fairy tales, they're very interesting. Only rubles. Don't think they're not stolen. Just my mother collected them all her life. She worked as a librarian, collected, and now she is very sick. So I sell them, to save money for surgery, and to eat at home and buy. Oleg Nikolievich's heart was broken and went to the heels. Despite the frost, he was sharply thrown into the heat. Exactly. This is her. There are no such coincidences. He continued the conversation. Let me buy all of them from you. You saved my granddaughter not long ago. You didn't let her fall into the river. Her name is Nadia. Thank you. You are a brave boy. Will you invite me to visit? Maybe I'll buy you some other books. I collect them too. You'll introduce me to my mother. Maybe I'll help you. The happy baby carefully counted and carefully put the money in a small wallet. Then he said, Of course, let's go. Just wait for me here for a while. I'll run to the store quickly, buy milk and rice, porridge for us and Mom to cook, and bread, okay? Otherwise, I haven't eaten anything since morning. The businessman nodded. He said, Run. And he stood like a dredged, holding in his hands the old books, remembering the past, swallowing tears. Sasha's son was always very self-righteous, and despite the very authoritarian mother who tried to rule over everyone, he often went against her in his decisions. He thought he had his opinion and didn't have to follow anyone's lead. It so happened that in his youth, his son fell in love with a normal girl, a librarian from a poor family, Tamara. They met by chance in a cafe, and Toma fell in love with Sasha so much that he couldn't live without her. Oleg Nikolaevich remembered how excited his son was. Dad, you see, she's not like all these rich fools. Toma is smart and well-read, and she's so beautiful. She doesn't even have to do the makeup, and I've never seen anyone with long hair like hers. I'm so interested in her. It's easy and good. I think about her all the time, even at night. Can I invite her over? You'll definitely like her. That was the most important mistake of Sasha's life. Mom immediately started to look for a girl as soon as she found out that she was from a poor and unprofitable family. Then the evening passed by, and even indecent questions, and made everyone understand that she was not happy here. She had a stereotype imposed on Soviet life that they now belong to the higher society, which means that a girl from a rich family should also get married. Their level, so as not to be ashamed to show off to her locally in Bomandi. Tamara was upset and ran away home in tears. Sasha was offended at his parents for such a warm reception of his bride and went to calm her down. This whole situation was extremely unpleasant for the businessman. He tried to talk to his wife, but everything was fine. She said the same thing as she did. I didn't raise my son to marry an alcoholic's daughter. It doesn't happen. I'm lying to my bones, but I'll destroy this stupid union. My son will thank me later. That's why Alice Sergeyevna tore her medal, trying to convince her son. Sasha, don't be stupid, remember. Why do you need this beggar? Who are her parents? Why do we need such a family? She's a beautiful girl, of course. There's no argument. I understand it's a young thing, but I had fun and that's enough. Stop this nonsense and pay attention to normal girls. You're a businessman after all. Son was wrong. And Toma means not normal. Why is that? She is educated, knows English perfectly, does not drink, does not smoke, is very educated. What's wrong here? After all, parents do not choose. Is it her fault that they are drinking? And the fact that we love each other, is it not an argument at all? It turns out that stupid Larissa, for example, the daughter of a businessman who is drinking whiskey and looks like a year-old aunt, she is worthy of the higher society, and my Toma is not? So it turns out, well, no, you have your opinion, I have mine, and I will marry the one I love, and not the one you are trying to impose on me. Such scandals have occurred more and more often. Sasha still continued to meet with Toma, and even planned to leave his parents and rent a house with her. Oleg Nikolaevich himself was not against Toma at all. Potential bride he liked very much. Immediately, it is clear that simple and modest. He could not stand these chivalrous, sluggish ladies who were. Oleg Nikolaevich preferred to be in the family, and it was not the time to be neutral in this matter. Sasha, despite the news of his mother, continued to meet with Toma and asked her father to help get one very rare book, Nenetsko Skaski. Toma was a librarian and collected books. It was her hobby. So 3 days ago, the kid with the embankment gave Nadyusha this book. There can be no doubt because on the first page there was an inscription, "My beloved Tomachka, for a long time in memory." Why did Sasha and Tamara break up? And Oleg Nikolaevich didn't know. Either jealousy or stupidity. But it happened so abruptly and unexpectedly. The son suffered a lot, closed himself, and for a long time could not bring more long-term relations with anyone. Slowly, over time, the son came to his senses. Mother persuaded him to marry the unloved, but the daughter of the judge, Olga. This is where the madam was gone. She loved only herself and was only engaged in the fact that she was walking around the salon of beauty and fashion glamour for days. And after Nadia's appearance, she ran away with her lover to Europe. Here is a girl from the higher society, and she humiliated them for the whole white world. After the death of her son, Alice Sergeyevna gave up. She was angry with herself 100 times that she was against the marriage of her son with Tamara, and in fact broke Sasha's fate. She often cried on his grave and asked for forgiveness. But she accepted Nadia right away and loved her as her own. Since then, an old woman began to look at many things in life differently. But her son was already gone. Misha yelled, "I'm already back." "Well, Uncle, let's go visit?" "It's cold to stand. The frost is strong today." They got into the car, and the baby began to show the road. We drove not far, though all with some kind of locks. When Oleg Nikolaevich entered the old dormitory, he almost collapsed. The smell of fried fish, tobacco, dampness, and something else was very disgusting. Children were wearing in the corridor. Women were hanging their clothes on the ropes in the corridor, talking loudly, and from the corner some alcohol was climbing on the floors to meet. In general, it was dark. The businessman had already forgotten that people live like that. The boy opened the door with a key, and they entered the room. There, though, was poor but very clean. Fiat was blooming on the windowsills. And there was a beautiful handmade fabric cutter lying on the table. There was a thin and almost transparent sick woman lying on the sofa under the blanket and reading a book. Hearing this, she happily shouted, "Mishenka, son, you're back already." She froze. Then she looked at Oleg Nikolaevich, and suddenly she was stunned. The businessman recognized her by the eyes. They remained as beautiful, indifferent, and inexpressibly sad. Oleg Nikolaevich even glared at her and threw himself at her. "Tamara, Tamachka, it's me, Oleg Nikolaevich, Sasha's father. Do you remember me? What's wrong with you? How are you? God, how many years have passed? The woman, seeing the bald man, dressed in a needle, the businessman, of course, recognized him. She changed her face and became slimmer. It became very uncomfortable for her that he saw her so weak. And they live with their son, poor like a church mouse. Hello, Oleg Nikolaevich, of course I remember. It's been 9 years, and it's just so much now, Mashenka. How is Sasha? I got married. I hope they found a bride from a higher society. The businessman was blinded once. Sasha died tragically a year ago. He went on a business trip, and I never saw him alive again. The car was found completely burned down, and the body was so charred that I only recognized the belt and the belt. Now we are raising our granddaughter Nadia. The son, shortly before his death, had her daughter. He took her from the shelter. He was very naughty. And Olga's wife couldn't or didn't want to give birth. I don't know. And then she went abroad with her lover. That's how it is. Tamara, why did you break up with Sasha then? I didn't understand, to be honest. The son suffered for a long time. He couldn't forget you. Tell me, Misha, is he my grandson? When I saw him, I understood it right away. The motherland was the same as Sasha's on the cheek. Toma sighed, waved a tear, and said, Why do we break up? I don't want to say. It still hurts. Ask your wife. She tried. I didn't know about Sasha. I'm sorry, really. I secretly hope that maybe God will give, and we will still meet. I love him very much and still love him. I couldn't get along with anyone else. And Mashenka and his son are true. I realized that I was pregnant after we broke up. I cried for a long time, suffered. I thought if I should tell him or not. It was scary to help someone. But the pride was overflowing, and I decided that since I didn't need your son, I should also have a child. So I took him to the orphanage. It was very difficult, I must admit, especially now when I got sick. My poor son is worried about me. He runs to my collection and sells books to earn at least a piece of bread. And I can't even buy winter boots for him. Poor thing is still in his shoes. Oleg Nikolaevich asked, What are you sick with? Maybe I can help you with something serious? Tamara sadly answered, This is a very rare genetic disease. The knee joint is gradually destroyed. It takes a very expensive operation to replace it. Then you can live normally. But I never get such money. So I suffer. I almost don't get up, my leg swells, doesn't bend, barely go to the toilet. And what will happen next? It's scary to even think. I worry about my son. Who will he stay with? And she quietly wept from hopelessness. The man took Tom on emotions by the hand. She was cold and lifeless. Tamara, don't worry. I'm going to start looking for a clinic that deals with such cases. I need all your tests and hospital card. You will walk and live normally, I promise. And I will take care of Misha. Don't worry, I will take him to myself while you are being treated. You are not strangers. I will not leave you. Here, take the money for the first time, and I will settle everything. Wait for me. I will be soon. Tamara cried. Why are you fighting with me? You hated me. We're against our relationship with Sasha. What's your business? Will I die or survive? Or is it some kind of conspiracy again? I'm not surprised by anything anymore. The businessman was terribly ashamed, and he bled his eyes out. Forgive us, Tom. After Sasha's death, we regretted 100 times that we didn't let you meet. After all, he never loved anyone but you. All his life, he went to the crossroads. So I want to correct my sins even if I'm late. You are a very good woman. We have already tamed your fate. Don't hang your nose. Everything will be fine. Misha entered the room, carrying the smoky porridge from the common kitchen and the stools. He sat down near the mother's bed and put the food on the chair. Mom, I cooked porridge for you and fried the stools. Aunt Luba showed me how to do it in the kitchen. Let me help you eat. You need to eat. You try, it's very tasty. I ate the whole plate myself. Oleg Nikolaevich even followed me. Crazy. A year-old child takes care of his mother in a not worse than experienced sitting. He helped the boy to put Tamara in and she ate. Then she hugged Misha and whispered, Thank you, son, my kind, good boy. What would I do without you? The boy shone and went to wash the dishes. Oleg Nikolaevich and Dazudy wanted to hold the boy to himself. Grandson, dear grandson. Inside, everything was licking and singing. But he did not know how to do it, especially without Tamara's permission. What if she doesn't allow us to talk? She will take and tell the child what happened then. We must talk to Tamara, but a little later. The businessman, having arrived at the office, called his deputy first and instructed him to look for a good clinic, and, having decided the current affairs, he rushed home. He decided to find out the truth from his wife, no matter what, and find out what she had done. After all, he already knew the gap between Sasha and Toma and her handling. Alla Sergeyevna was just chatting in the kitchen and was delighted with her husband's arrival. Ulazak, you decided to come home earlier today? Nice to meet you. My hands are for the table. I cooked a fish and sauce, an avocado salad. Our nanny Irina Borisovna told me about the new recipe. It should be very tasty. The businessman was tired of this wine and started the course. Alla, answer me straight. Why did Sasha and Tamara break up many years ago? I know it's your business. I only need the truth. Woman made round eyes. What the hell? And what are these inappropriate questions for? Son died, he is no longer. You know, this is a painful topic for me. I'm not going to say anything. Why bother the past? But the husband was not going to retreat and went back to the attack. Answer slowly. I'm not kidding now. I found Tamara. Do you know that she alone all these years grows up our own grandson? Moreover, she is very sick and needs surgery. Who is to blame? What do you think? Do you even understand what we have done? We have broken the son's life. He dreamed about children so much, and he has a son. He is a copy of Sasha. Even the motherland on his cheek is the same. Wonderful, wonderful boy. If you saw how he takes care of his sick mother, and this is at the age of, I want to know the truth, why and how Sasha and Tamara broke up. Alice suddenly quietened and blushed. She was terribly ashamed and unpleasant to remember everything. But she understood then from her husband that the operation and her people are meaningless. Yes, I was the one who made them fight. I asked one of my friends, he made a photo editing, added to the body of the naked lady in front of Tamara, and another guy was lying next to her. Well, after that, I threw these photos to Sasha, with a note like, look, you are a scoundrel, what your bride is doing. That's all. Then they started to argue about everything. Sasha was very jealous and angry. Tamara was very proud. She was very offended. So they broke up. Oleg couldn't hold it anymore and was screaming so much that he was burning his neck and was blowing off anger. Alawai, answer me. Did it make you feel better that Sasha broke his life? After all, he didn't love anyone except this girl. If only they lived, okay, they had a son. What have you done? And I, a fool, didn't really get into it. I let it all out. Alice suddenly burst into tears, and so sincere and bitter. Don't yell at me. I don't know why. Then it seemed to me that I was doing everything right, since there is nothing to do with the poor motherland. It was much later, when I saw how my son suffers, how he suffers with the unloved walking Olga, I began to understand what she was doing. Forgive me, please. Well, what do I have now? Go hang yourself? The husband melted. He could not see the women's tears. He hugged the husband. Okay, whatever it is, you can't turn it around. Both are good things to say, but we can fix our mistakes. I already ordered the deputy to look for a clinic for Tamara, so that she could have an operation on her knee joint. You would see her leg. She is swollen and does not move. Toma almost does not get up, full of disability. After all, she is young and beautiful woman. She is very worried about her son. And Misha will stay with us for now. I hope you will not be against your own grandson. Alla wiped her tears and tormented. I adore our Nadyushka, and I will love my grandson, and I will make up with Tamara. I will ask her for forgiveness, I promise. Nadia ran out of the kindergarten and went to hug her grandfather. Hello, Grandpa. Will someone live here? I heard. Why did you argue here? Oleg Nikolaevich laughed and gently patted his granddaughter on the nose. And who is so curious here, listens to the conversations of adults? Yes, the same boy Misha will live with us, while his mother will be treated. It turns out he is not a stranger to us. He is also my grandson. Can you imagine? That's how it happens. You don't mind, do you? You want to share toys with him? Nadia clapped her hands and was very happy. Hooray! Misha is a good boy. He saved me, and kind. And when he comes, I will also go and prepare a gift for him. I will draw a picture. Alice surprisingly threw up her eyebrow. I don't understand. Where does Nadia know Misha from? Why did he save her? I don't know anything. The businessman smiled slyly. It was our little secret, but the little girl couldn't keep it. I'll tell you, but promise me you won't scold the nanny. Recently they walked on the mountain, rode on the embankment. The sledgehammer was carried in the wrong direction, and it almost fell into the river. Irina Borisovna, of course, threw herself after her. But could she have made it in time? And Misha was selling books there, and ran in time and saved our granddaughter. And also gave her something as a souvenir. I'll show you now. The man took out the same book with fairy tales. I helped Sasha and ordered her a coat for tomorrow. So I realized that this is my grandson. And then he took me to my mother. You would see how Tomo suffers now. She is so thin, just transparent. We must help her, you know? A la quietly answered. Oh my God, Eliza, of course, let's help. Go right now and take them, I don't mind. A couple of days later, a great clinic was found for Tamara and operated. And Misha was taken to his grandparents. At first, the boy was rough and shy. He has never been in such a chic mansion. But the cheerful Nadieshka helped him get used to it quickly. They played and drew together. The boy treated her like a younger sister. He took care of her and watched that nothing would happen to her. Alla often looked at the boy and cried quietly. He was like Sasha. She even got pictures of her son. Just a copy. She was so ashamed of that terrible act, conscience burned inside the charred iron. She was angry with herself, but everything could have been completely different. But why did I argue with them? It was like an invasion. And you will not return the son, and you will not ask for forgiveness. Fortunately, the operation went successfully. The knee joint was replaced. There was a long rehabilitation ahead. Tamara was visited often by all families. Misha and Nadia drew drawings for her, where they all go together to hold hands. Grandfather, grandmother, children, mom and dad. Dad was always present on each of the drawings. Adults did not scold Nadia for this. They understood that the girl was just very bored of him. Well, Misha just really wanted his father to be there. When they first came to Tamara's room, at first everyone talked about her health, discussed what the doctor was predicting. Misha hugged and stroked his mother, treated her with tangerines. He was so bored of her. And then Alla asked, "Leave us Tamara alone. I need to tell her something very important. Buy me coffee while I can if it's not difficult." Oleg understood everything at once and took the child away without talking, promising them to buy delicious cakes. And Alice sighed, looked at the unborn daughter-in-law in the eyes, gathered her spirit, and said, "Tamachka, I repent in front of you, very much guilty. And I have no forgiveness. I build up those evil pictures. It seemed to me that it would be better this way, as if the devil had possessed me. When Sasha died, I regretted my disgusting actions many times. He loved you so much, and he couldn't build a family with anyone else. Forgive me if you can. I understand that you won't bring Sasha back from the grave, but now that we have learned that we have such a wonderful grandson Mashenka, let's forget all the insults. How will you get better? Stay here and live. The mansion is huge. There is enough space for everyone. I promise I will never hurt you again." Tamara Yulit did not stand up and answered honestly. "You know, Alla Sergeyevna, I will not hide. I immediately understood whose hands these photos. Many years after that I hated you, could not understand why, and for what you have ruined our relationship. I often thought about it, and then looked at it from the other side. Sasha and I are guilty of a lot. We both got angry, we got like two sheep. Everyone defended their right, instead of sitting down to talk calmly and figure out everything. Apparently he didn't trust me %, if you believe this stupid photo. And I was too proud and offended. I found out about the pregnancy almost immediately as we broke up. After all, I could call and tell him. But no, I decided that I would not impose. I raised it myself. In secret, I hoped that maybe he would think and come back to me. In general, both are good. It turned out how it turned out. To be honest, am very tired of this year of loneliness. It's hard to lift one child on his feet. I am very glad and grateful to your husband that he found me and helped. I will gladly accept your offer. Only the contract is out of order. No more excuses. It is better to discuss everything at once. Is it going? The women hugged warmly, and both of them were distracted from the heart, as if a heavy load of resentment and misunderstanding had fallen asleep, which had been accumulated for many years. Tamara quickly went to the correction, and a month later again walked with a cane on her own, and she was discharged home. Now the whole big family lived in the mansion of the Morozov family. Every day, the relationship between Sasha and Tamara's parents got warmer, and soon they couldn't imagine how it was possible to live without each other. Women were happy to be in the kitchen and surprise the hostess and the children with various treats. Alla Sergeyevna was enchanted by the appearance of the bride and took her to the best beauty salon and boutique. As a result, even Misha's own son barely recognized his mother. Thomas again became the same pretty girl who was in her youth. The same long, luxurious, thick hair and a fresh, well-groomed face. And stylish modern updates and gentle nude manicure made her younger by years exactly. He went to boxing and swimming and just adored his grandfather like Nadzushka. One night, Oleg Nikolaevich got up to drink some water and suddenly heard a scream from the bride's room. He was scared and ran there, quietly knocking. "Tamara, baby, are you all right? I heard you screaming." The bride opened the door. She was pale and frightened and wiped her forehead with a cold towel. At the sound, Alla Sergeyevna jumped out and asked politely, "What's going on, Tamachka? Are you sick? There's how pale. You're shaking all over. Maybe call the doctor home?" The bride quietly whispered, "Let's go to the kitchen. I'll tell you something so as not to wake the children upstairs." Tamara drank some water from the graphene, calmed down a bit, and began to talk. "You see, I have more than once dreamed of the same nightmare. As if Sasha is alive, but his head is bleeding. He holds on to her and begs to save him. He just asks, 'My dear, take me away. I feel bad, find me.' And so it is repeated from time to time. So now the dream was almost the same, but Sasha said one more word, or rather repeated it many times. What could it be? I don't know what to do. Maybe he's really alive and is in pain somewhere and needs help. Or is it just my sick imagination to write to a psychiatrist?" Alla Sergeyevna objected. "It's no use. I personally believe in dreams. I also had a dream once in my life. I was pregnant with Sasha. I dreamt that I lost my son. I'm looking for him in the wheelchair and in the bed, but he's not there. And at the very end, his dog brought me in his teeth. I remember I was surprised what kind of nonsense it was. What is all this for? So a whole year has passed before the dream was fulfilled. I have already forgotten about him 100 times. So we went to the Imavia on the day of birth. We decided to walk back. It was night, Sasha was small and sat in the sleds. Apparently he fell asleep on the way and fell out. I threw myself, no son. I scream, I scold my husband, I cry, and the sleds are empty. Suddenly we hear barking dogs, we go there. And our child sleeps like an angel, where he fell. The dog noticed him and raised his eye. Here is a dream for you. So everything can be, and suddenly Sasha really survived. We did not conduct an examination. Somehow it was not before the shock, grief, pain. I could not appear at the identification. I fell into a daze. And the husband only recognized his things. And now I think, maybe it was not Sasha at all? Oleg Nikolaevich became serious and thought. Then he ran to the office and brought a map from there. He laid it down on the table and began to think. The women in charge only looked around and kept silent, not understanding anything. Then the businessman pointed his finger at some point on the map and shouted, "Here it is. This is a village kilometers from the place of the tragedy where Sasha died. It is called Sands. Since it is located in a sandy area, there is still a huge quarry there. Tomorrow morning, Thomas and I will go there with you. Let's check just in case. Suddenly the truth is a dream. Even if there is one chance out of a billion that the son survived, we must check it." Having barely waited until dawn, Oleg Nikolaevich and Tamara took the thermos with sandwiches and set off. He was not close. They got to the village closer to the evening, saw the old lady sitting on the bench, and decided to ask. "Good evening, kind people. Please tell us, we are looking for one person. Here's a photo. Have you seen this in the village by chance? This is my son. The old lady turned the photo and replied, yes, this is the man who was found by the men a year ago, local foresters, in a landing with a broken head. He was at the inn of Vaseline, and so he lived. She went out and left him. The middler lost his memory. He doesn't even remember his name. We call him Peter, not a bad person at all, without a name. They dressed him in the whole village so that he didn't freeze. They're their house on the outskirts near the forest. Oleg Nikolaevich did not believe what he heard. They immediately rushed to the hut from the barn. They knocked. A dry old woman came out on the porch and asked, hello, dear guests. Who do you need help with? Alpert was screaming, who? I don't remember what you are from the village. Oleg Nikolaevich, with shaking hands, showed the old woman a photo. This is my son, Alexander. We thought he died a year ago, even buried. He is with you? Call him, please. The surprised grandmother screamed, Peter, go. Here are the things. I thought no one would look for him. So much time has passed. When they brought him to me, I was cross-breasted. I thought I would not survive, God forbid. My head is covered with blood, and my skull is badly damaged. Oh, I was with him for a long time. I was taking care of him. He was sick, and I was tearing the poor man. Apparently the shock was very strong. And then Sasha came out into the yard, wearing a scarf and a blanket, like a long, smooth beard, but most importantly, alive and healthy. Toma screamed, couldn't stand it, and threw herself on his neck, forgetting about all the insults. Sasha, my dear, you're still alive. What happiness. She cried and stroked him on the head, unable to cope with herself. Father also hugged his son. Son, I envy your eyes. We thought you were dead. We buried you. We were so sad. This is Tommy. I dreamed that you were alive, and here you are. So we came, although I did not believe that it was possible. Now I believe in mysticism. How will Mom be happy? But why are you looking so strange? You don't remember anything at all? Your name is Alexander Morozov, and I am your father, Oleg Nikolaevich, and this is your bride, Tamara. Well, son, remember? You loved him so much, you should remember. And cried out loud. Oh my God! It was like a flash, like lightning. I remembered, Dad. I remembered everything. Tamachka, my dear, but we broke up for no reason. I, an abnormal fool, was jealous of you. It's so good that you found me. How did you find me? Grandma Mignot found me, thank her, but I lost my memory forever. I'll close my eyes. Emptiness, and that's it. If you only knew how scary it is to not remember anything. Look in the mirror at the wash basin. Some stranger man is looking at you, about whom you know nothing at all. You are as if not a human, like a shadow, a phantom. That's how people become homeless later, often. If it weren't for the Bobomania, where to go if you don't know anything about yourself? There are no documents, nothing at all. But sometimes I was so sick of it, even if I was a thief. I think, well, what can I do? To sit on my old woman's neck until the end of my life? I was certainly pitted by the villagers, called for a job, who to fix the fence, who to mow the grass. But is this life? Oleg Nikolaevich hugged the old woman. Thank you very much that my son was saved. I am now your debtor. What do you want me to do for you? You say, the son of the forestry company was found? Where do they live? I would like to personally thank them for the son. The old woman was embarrassed. I don't need anything. Moreover, I did not do anything like that. I treated the guys, and that's it. What kind of beast am I to drive a man out of his room without a memory? I gave him a room, everything as it should be. We made friends. He licked my wing and prepared hay for the winter for my goats and helped in the garden. It's even a pity to part, but I'm glad you found your son. I saw how my guest was missing you at night quietly and sat down to remember at least something about yourself. All the best to you, goodbye. Sasha warmly hugged the old woman on the way home. On the way, we stopped by the same forest workers, Stepan and Nikita, who saved Sasha and brought him to the barn. Oleg Nikolaevich generously thanked them, giving each a decent amount of money. He shook hands with them. Guys, you are heroes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. After all, they could have passed by, and then Sasha would definitely not have survived. The men were embarrassed and replied. We went to the clearing that day, to the cutoff. A dog pig tied up with us. So he was talking and raised his voice. He did not leave the ditch, but we went to see what was going on. When they saw your son, all in blood, not moving, they thought, oh my God. Then they somehow dared to come closer, and he breathes, but we run to Bobby Mania on his shoulder. That's the whole story. It's good that you remembered everything, Sasha, and found your family. Good luck to you. All the way home, Sasha turned his head, asked to go slower, as if he was trying to remember something else. He was always looking around, and then suddenly shouted at the turn, Dad, stop here, please. Then it all happened. I remembered. I was going to meet him. Suddenly, I see a man lying on the ground, and the second one waves his hands, saying, stop, help. But I stopped with a fool. I think maybe it got bad. Anything can happen. I just came up to him, leaned over, and immediately something heavy flew over my head. I was in that ditch. The foresters found me in a day and brought me to the Bohemia. Well, then you know. God, I even remembered their faces. Well, come on. One of them was wearing a cap with years-old mustache, and the other one was wearing a small one of my height. I am surprised myself. I didn't know anything about myself yesterday. But when I saw you, I felt something clicking. It was like a switch that was turned on in my head. I remembered everything. Father, what about Nadyusha? Nadyushinka is not well. She is my daughter. You didn't give her back to the shelter. Does she live with you? She probably forgot me already. It's a joke to not see my father for a year. And my mother? Oleg Nikolaevich calmed down his son. Don't worry, Nadia is with us. We love her very much. She remembers you and misses you very much. We never told her that you died. Daughter thinks you're on a business trip and will be back soon. Domas Maid. This is not all the news. You have a son, Misha. He is 9 years old. When we broke up, I found out that you were pregnant. But the fool was not telling you anything. She didn't call. My son grew up. It was hard not to tell him, especially when he got sick. Misha often asked, where is Dad? What could I tell him? I lied that he is very far away and cannot live with us. And recently Oleg Nikolaevich found me, helped me to do the surgery. We made up with your mom, and now we all live together in a big house. Oh my God, Sasha, what a miracle that you found yourself. Sasha was crying. He could not hold back. This is the news. I also have a son. I couldn't dare to dream about it. I wanted to have children. Will Misha accept me? Will he be offended that his father disappeared for so many years and didn't visit him? Toma, we were such fools, young people. Forgive me, lassie, for being so angry. I believed in you. I doubted your loyalty. How many times did I regret it later? Even when I lost my memory, I dreamed of your image at night. And I always thought when I woke up who this beautiful stranger was. Maybe my wife or sister. Why does she dream about me every night? They have been waiting for them at home for a long time. Alice Sergeyevna has grown up, what she has not invented. When her beloved son finally entered her home, alive and healthy, she screamed, grabbed her heart, and fell into a daze like a cat. The intercourse began. Tamara carried her to the tent. Oleg Nikolaevich sprinkled water on her, and Sasha fell on the roots near her. Right on the floor, whispered, Mom, dear, what are you doing? It's me, Sasha, your son. Well, finally I woke up, phew. Why are you so scared? Alla opened her eyes and began to stroke and feel her own blood, to make sure that all this was happening to him. Then suddenly she cried, Sasha, son, forgive me. I am guilty of everything. Life spoiled you, and Temechka. Fate has been entangled. How happy I am that you are alive. I was blackened from grief when we buried you. I blamed myself for thinking too late, and you can't fix anything anymore, my dear. But let me hug you tighter. Otherwise, I think it's all a dream. The son hugged his mother tightly and consoled her. That's enough, Mom. Don't blame yourself. What happened is past. Let's not remember the bad things. The main thing is that Thomas and you have made up. Wait a minute. Where are my children? Where's my sweet bun? Nadyushka immediately ran to the kindergarten and began to caress her father. She kissed him, hugged him, and cried. Daddy, Daddy, I missed you so much. Why didn't you come for so long? I've been waiting for you, but you weren't there. Don't go away anymore, okay? Promise? Sasha kissed the chubby cheeks, breathed the aroma of childhood, and cursed. I miss my good one too. I'm not going anywhere else. I'll be with my Nadyashenka. And who am I going to tickle now? But Misha was quietly standing aside and only watched everyone fall asleep. He looked at Sasha with distrust from under his forehead. The man finally lowered the daughter to the floor and came up to the guy. He started carefully. "Hello, son. How did you grow up? What an adult you are already. Well, let's get acquainted. I am your father, Alexander." The boy did not reach out his hand to his father and quietly said, "Where have you been? Why did you appear only now? Do you know how we lived with Mom? How she was sick? If my grandfather Oleg did not find me, then I do not know it all. Would she have survived? Why didn't he come to us with Mom before? I'm not Nadia. I'm not years old. You don't love us. If you loved us, you wouldn't leave us." And Misha, in tears, pushed his father away and ran to his room. Sasha clearly did not expect such a violent negative reaction of the boy and hurried, not knowing what to do. Then he sadly stated, "Well, that's right. What did I want? For him to throw me on my neck. He sees me for the first time in general. So he thinks maybe I was missing somewhere on purpose and did not visit him. It's a shame. I didn't know anything about him. What can I do?" Tamara quietly said, "Don't be upset, Sasha. Give him time to get used to it. It's too much stress for him. He's a smart and good boy, and he'll understand everything. I'll talk to him." Alla Sergeyevna grabbed her head. "Well, it's all because of me. They separated father and son for many years. Of course, Mishenka is upset. He thinks that Sasha left them, visited them, and he didn't know anything." Then Oleg Nikolaevich decided to interfere. "At home, let me talk to my grandson myself. I think he will hear me. He is not as old as I am, and I am all grown up." Grandpa knocked on Misha's room. "Grandson, please open the door. I need to talk to you." Misha, who was drunk, opened the door and waved his hand. "Come in, Grandpa. I'm always glad for you." Oleg Nikolaevich sighed and carefully began to pick up every word to explain to his grandson. "You see, Misha, life is a difficult thing. Adults often do stupid things. And sometimes the scoundrels, who are then pitted for years. You are already an adult, so I don't want to lie to you or come up with something. Your father didn't talk to you not because he doesn't love you with your mother, but because he didn't know anything about you at all. You know? He only found out today that he has a son and cried out of happiness. Who is to blame for this? A difficult question. Everyone understands, even me. Your parents loved each other very much. I was a witness there. But then they got very angry, and when your mom realized that you were already pregnant, she didn't say anything to Dad because of the offense to him. It happens. But look at it from the other side. Your mom is a smart girl. She raised you, loved you, didn't hesitate. And now in your life there is a dad, grandfather, grandmother, sister Nadia. But is it bad? Don't be angry at your father. It hurts him a lot, and it hurts you too. Think about my words. You are a very smart boy. So I think you will make up." The crazy lay down a little, and the whole family sat down to have dinner at the big table. Misha was the last to leave the room. He came up to his father and stretched out a small handkerchief for him to greet him and said to everyone in an adult way, "I'm glad you have a dad. Let's be friends." Sasha grabbed him by the hand and almost cried out of happiness. Then he answered, "I'm sorry, Misha, that I wasn't there, but I'll make it up. And now we will always be together." Everyone breathed easily. Toma even sighed. Finally, all her cherished dreams came true. They lived together with Sasha and her son. Nadyashka has long loved and called her a daughter and a princess. Finally, the child after the game went to sleep in her room, and Sasha and Tamara also went to their rooms. And finally, they united from everyone. After so many years of separation, Sasha, seeing Tamara, so beautiful and desirable in a transparent pen. Women also missed their beloved man. They didn't close their eyes until dawn. They cried, confessed to each other in love, and held each other tight in embrace, as if fearing that all this happiness could disappear. Sasha whispered, as in his youth, "You are my queen Tamara. You are my beauty. How I missed you. You are the same as before, gentle, sensitive, passionate, and my favorite girl. Forgive me, dear, that I did not fight for my love then. Fate punished me for this cruelly. I will not let you go anywhere now. Thomas simply melted from these sincere words. Finally, justice was rebelled, and they are together again, two loving hearts. She enjoyed the moment, listening to the peaceful breath of her beloved, and did not believe in the reality of what was happening. Oleg Nikolaevich turned to the prosecutor's office. Sasha's case was revived in a new way. He made up the photo robots of the bandits who were attacked on him. Unbelievable. But we managed to find one of them, and the second, as it turned out, burned in the car, not managing to control it, and it was taken for Alexander. The body was so charred that it was impossible to identify anything there. The bandit told how it was. They have already turned over similar schemes several times. When the driver went out for help, still not understanding that this is all a setup, he was hit on the head and into the canal. And the car was stolen. The numbers were interrupted and resold. But this time, everything went wrong. On the way, the partners argued among themselves without sharing the stolen money. And one of them threw the second right on the road from the car. And he crashed. The fact that Sasha survived after such a trauma, otherwise you can't call it a miracle. This is the merit of the Znakorka Baba Mani. Sasha and Oleg Nikolaevich helped her as a sign of gratitude, and repaired the house, rebuilt the bath, and even equipped the modern office for the reception of visitors. The old woman did not dream of such a thing and was very happy with such a royal gift. Tamara decided to engage in charity. She remembered how she was on her way to death and could not find anywhere to get help. She organized a charity fund and called it Do Good. Here they helped all the poor families who were in a difficult situation. They found clinics, arranged auctions, and exhibitions of paintings. All the revenue went to the payment of treatment for such people. That very memorial book in the quay was now kept as a shelter in a visible place in their bedroom. After all, it was she who helped to find her loved ones, to unite the whole family after many years. Alla Sergeyevna was proud of her daughter-in-law, and her soul was not in vain. They got very close over this time. For a long time, they talked in their hearts, cooked together, worried for their men, who were still immersed in the business of oil business. Nadia went to the first grade, and the proud and important Misha took her everywhere and baked. He threatened the whole boy. Keep in mind, who will hurt my sister, I will twist his head. Is that clear to you? Finally, the poor and the oppressed retreated, and in the Morozov family, an idol came. Sasha decided to bring to an end what he could not do many years ago, and finally made Tamara an offer, as it should be, standing on her knees and with a ring in her hand. The woman wept because once it was her most cherished dream. What kind of girl doesn't grumble about a wedding and a white dress in her youth? Probably there are no such girls. But when Sasha now, after many years, decided to arrange a magnificent wedding, Thomas suddenly got shy. Maybe we shouldn't? But it's not yet. We have 2 children. You are already married. But how will it all look? Probably it's better to sign quietly, and that's it. What is this pomposity for? The main thing is that we are together. But the man decidedly answered, Well, no, my dear, you can't turn away from the wedding. I am a wealthy person, and I can afford to celebrate this event with a chic. After all, we live once. I want everyone in the world to know that I am marrying the best woman in the world, and finally you will become Tamara Morozova. There was a fuss and madness ahead, and finally this long-awaited day came. The happy Tamara looked at herself in the mirror and did not believe in the reality of what was happening. Today she is getting married to Alexander. As always, I dreamed, and it doesn't matter that on the way to this I had to go through a lot of tests and not a single test for strength. If 2 hearts really love each other, then they will still find each other sooner or later and will be together. Oleg Nikolaevich and Alla Sergeyevna were sitting at the festive table in an expensive restaurant and watched with admiration how young wives danced the wedding waltz. Sasha gently hugged and circled his invisible, as if a weightless butterfly. The dress was unusually beautiful, with a lush snow-white dress with rhinestones, and the hair with diadem made it even more like a fairy tale princess. Oleg Nikolaevich pressed down on his wife and suddenly said in a dream, "Oh, how wonderful they dance!" right before the eyes. They bark like doves. And let's shake the old one too. Let's show the young people how to dance waltz, Hadir? Everyone clapped and admired how Sasha's parents danced. As if the second breath opened, one of the guests shouted first. And now everyone is bitter. All the others grabbed the young wives and began to kiss passionately, forgetting about everything in the world. The holiday was a celebration, and the whole Morozov family remembered the most interesting moments for a long time and rewatched the photos. Now in the evenings, relatives gathered by the fireplace and had a fun time. Tamara turned out to be a great mother-in-law and the most beloved daughter-in-law. That's how it happens.